Dustin, here is the divorce agreement prepared by Miss Nicholson. All you need to do is sign them. In the president's office of the Quine Group, the secretary, Lyra Blaine, placed a piece of A4 paper on the table. A man sat opposite her, dressed in plain clothing. Divorce? What do you mean? Dustin Rhys was taken aback. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Your marriage with Miss Nicholson is over. You're not even on the same level anymore. Your existence is nothing but a smear on the president's reputation. Lyra pulled no punches as she spoke. A smear on her reputation, Dustin frowned. Is that how she thinks of me? Back when they first got married, the Nicholson family was in ruinous debt. He was the one who helped them when they were at their lowest point. Now that they were rich, Dahlia Nicholson was ready to just kick him out. Something like that. Lyra jerked her chin toward the magazine on the table. A photo of a beautiful woman was printed on the front page. Look at the headline on this magazine, Dustin. Miss Nicholson's net worth has hit $1 billion in the course of just 3 years. A feat no short of a miracle. She's now the most desired woman in Swinton. With all this, she's destined for greatness. But you're just a regular Joe. You don't deserve her at all. I hope that you'll see some sense and do the right thing. When Dustin remained silent, Lyra frowned. I know you're not happy with this, but this is reality, she continued. You might have helped Miss Nicholson when she was in trouble, but she has repaid you for everything you've done for her over the last 3 years. In fact, you're the one who owes her now. Is our marriage just a business deal to her then? Justin took a deep breath to suppress the emotions within. If she wants to divorce me, let her speak to me herself. Miss Nicholson is very busy. She doesn't need to trouble herself with such trifling matters. Trifling matters? Dustin was stunned. Then he laughed bitterly. Is that so? Is divorce a trifling matter to her? She can't even find the time to speak to me. Truly, she's that unattainable now. Dustin, don't delay this any longer. Lyra pushed the divorce agreement toward him again. Just sign here and you'll get a car and a house as compensation. On top of that, you'll also get $8 million. This is more than what you'll be able to earn in your lifetime. $8 million is a lot, but I don't need it. I will sign the divorce papers if she comes personally. Otherwise, I won't sign anything, Dustin said coldly. Don't go too far, Dustin. Lyra slammed her hand on the table. Don't say I didn't warn you. With all her power and resources, Miss Nicholson can divorce you easily. It's only because she appreciates her past relationship with you that she's allowing you to keep your dignity intact. Don't provoke her. My dignity? Dustin was a little amused by that. She didn't even want to speak to him directly to divorce him. What kind of dignity was that? Moreover, if she really did appreciate their relationship, then why was she threatening him now? I don't think we have anything else to talk about then. Unwilling to argue, Dustin stood up and made to leave. Dustin Rhys, you... Just as Lyra was about to lose her cool, a curvy woman in a long black dress walked in. Her skin was as white as snow, and her features were delicate. Her lofty aura and curvaceous figure made her look like a goddess right out of a painting. You're finally here. Dustin felt complicated emotions when he saw the beautiful woman. They had been married for 3 years, during which they treated each other with care and respect. But this was how it ended. He still didn't know what he had done wrong. I'm sorry for being late. I was caught up with something else. Dahlia Nicholson sat down. Her expression was as impassive as ever. You certainly are busy, if you need your secretary to help you deal with your divorce, Dustin said. Hearing this, Dahlia frowned slightly. However, she did not explain herself. Instead, she said, Since you're here, let's get straight to the point. Let's end this on a pleasant note. I'm sorry I have to do this to you, so you can have the car and the house, plus $8 million as alimony. How does that sound? At that, she placed a card on the table. Do you really think our relationship can be measured by money? Dustin asked. Too little? That's all right. Let me know what you want. I'll give you anything within my power, Dahlia said placidly. I don't think you understand me. Let me rephrase my question. Are money and power that important to you? Dustin was truly bewildered. Dahlia went over to the windows and looked out over the city. There was determination in her eyes when she said, To me, yes, they're very important. You've earned enough to feed yourself for the rest of your life. Why do this? Dustin, that's where you and I diverge in philosophy. You'll never understand what I really want. Dahlia shook her head in disappointment. They weren't just incompatible in status and power. They were also incompatible in their principles. Most importantly, she did not see any hope for the future in him. You're right. How would I know what you're thinking? Dustin laughed bitterly. All I know is to cook for you when you're hungry, prepare your coat when it's cold out, and carry you to the hospital when you're sick. There's no point in going into this now. Dahlia's expression held complicated emotions, but it was soon covered up by determination. You're right. Dustin nodded without any emotion. I heard that you've been close with the heir of the Nolan family. Is it because of him? Dahlia was about to deny it when she gave it a second thought. In the end, she nodded. You can say that. Okay. I hope you're happy with him. Dustin smiled and signed the divorce agreement without any more hesitation. All he felt now was disappointment. Ironically, today was also their wedding anniversary. There was cruel humor in divorcing him on the day they had gotten married. I don't want the money. I just want that crystal necklace back. My mother left it to me when she died so that I can give it to my wife. Okay. Dahlia nodded and gave him the crystal necklace. From today onward, we will have nothing to do with each other. Dustin put on the necklace and left. He had no more gentleness in his expression. All that was left was distant aloofness. Did I do the right thing, Lyra? Dahlia asked hesitantly. Even though she was the one who asked for the divorce, she didn't feel happy at all when it was finalized. Of course you did, Lyra nodded. You have the right to pursue happiness. Dustin does not deserve you at all. He'll only bring you down with him. You're destined to be the most powerful woman in Swinton. Dahlia did not answer her. As she watched Dustin leave, she felt as if she was losing something precious. In the elevator, Dustin stared at the crystal necklace dejectedly. Even though he had expected it, he was still sad that his marriage had ended just like that. He had once thought that happiness was simple, meals on the table, cheerful days, and simple pleasures. Now he found out that normalcy was a sin. It was time to awaken from his prolonged daydream. Suddenly, his phone rang, breaking him out of his trance. When he picked up the phone, a familiar voice came from the other end. Mr. Rhys, I'm Hunter Anderson from the Swinton Group. I heard that today is your wedding anniversary with Miss Nicholson, so I've prepared a gift for you. I'm just wondering if you have any time today? Thank you for your kindness, but I'm afraid we won't be needing the gift, Dustin said. Why? Hunter was taken aback. He could sense something wrong. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Mr. Anderson? Actually, yes there is. Hunter cleared his throat awkwardly. I've got a friend who contracted a strange illness. He's seen a lot of doctors, but none of them could do anything about it. I was hoping that you could help. Mr. Anderson, you know my rules. Of course I do. I'm sincere in my request. My friend owns some Kanskora which I remember you were looking for. I'm sure he'll be willing to part with it if you help him, Hunter said. Is this true? Dustin asked seriously. Yes, it is. All right. If that's so, then I'll be willing to take a look. Dustin immediately agreed to the request. He wasn't interested in money or jewels, but rather some rare herbs and plants, as he needed them to save lives. Thank you, Mr. Rhys. I'll send someone to pick you up immediately. Hunter smiled in relief. As the president of the Swinton Group and one of the mighty three in Swinton, Hunter acted exceptionally timid in front of Dustin. Great. One more down, 5 to go. I should have enough time, Dustin muttered to himself. His mood was lifted a little by this news. With a ding, the elevator doors opened. As soon as he stepped out of the building, he saw two familiar figures walking toward him. It was Dahlia's mother, Florence Franklin, and her brother, James Nicholson. "Mom, James, why are you here?" Dustin greeted.
"Did you and Dahlia get divorced?"
Florence did not waste any breath. "Yes, we did." Dustin gave her a forced smile. "It's not Dahlia's fault, it's mine. Don't blame her." He intended to end his marriage on a pleasant note. However, hearing this, Florence snorted coldly.
"Of course it's your problem. I know my daughter well. If you hadn't done anything wrong, why would she divorce you?"
Dustin was stunned. What was this? Victim blaming? "Mom, you know how I've treated her over the past 3 years. I'm pretty sure I've never done anything to betray Dahlia's trust in me," Dustin said.
"Who knows what you've done behind our backs?"
Florence snorted again.
"My daughter was right to divorce you. Look at yourself. She's clearly out of your league."
"Mom, don't you think you're going too far?" Dustin frowned. If he hadn't helped the Nicholson family 3 years ago, they wouldn't be where they were today.
"Too far? So what if I am? Am I not speaking the truth?"
Florence crossed her arms.
"That's enough, Mom. Stop wasting time with him."
Suddenly, James stepped forward.
"Listen here, Rhys. I don't care whether you divorce my sister or not, but you're giving me all the money you got from her."
"Money? What money?" Dustin was flabbergasted.
"Stop feigning ignorance. I know that my sister gave you $8 million as alimony,"
James said coldly.
"That's right. That's my daughter's money. You have no right to take it. Give it back."
Florence stretched out her hand in demand. "I didn't take any money from her," Dustin denied.
"Bullshit. Who would pass on $8 million? Do you take us as idiots?"
James did not believe him.
"Rhys, you better be tactful and give us the money. Don't make me angry,"
Florence warned. "You can call Dahlia and ask her if you don't believe me." Dustin did not wish to explain himself any further.
"What now? Are you threatening us? Listen here. No matter how much you beg, I'm not letting you leave with a single cent of ours,"
Florence snarled.
"Mom, he's too dense for this. Let's just search his pockets,"
James said impatiently. He dove straight into Dustin's pockets. Florence followed suit. "Mom, do you have to do this?" Dustin frowned. He hadn't expected to be accosted by the Nicholson family so soon after the divorce. They were really merciless. Florence spat on the ground in disgust.
"Who are you calling Mom? Watch your mouth. Who do you think you are?"
As she spoke, she continued searching through Dustin's pockets. After some time, they didn't find what they wanted from his pockets.
"Fucking hell. Did he really not take any of the money?"
James said, displeased. Suddenly, he spied the crystal necklace around Dustin's neck and pulled it off roughly.
"Isn't this my sister's necklace? Why is it with you? Did you steal it?"
James demanded. "This is the Rhys family heirloom. Give it back!" Dustin said, his expression darkening. He wouldn't take any money, but he would not leave his mother's keepsake.
"A family heirloom? Does this mean that this is valuable?"
James's eyes lit up.
"In that case, Rhys, this can be your repayment for these 3 years that you've been living with us. Let's go."
Florence gave her son a look and prepared to leave.
"Stop there!"
Dustin grabbed James's wrist.
"Give me back the necklace."
"Ouch! That hurts! Let me go!"
James felt great pain in his wrist.
"Give it back,"
Dustin repeated dangerously.
"Fuck! I'd rather throw it away than give it back to you."
Seeing that he had no chance of freeing himself from Dustin, James threw the necklace onto the ground. With a crisp clink, the crystal necklace broke into several pieces. Dustin blanched. This was the only thing he had to remember his mother by.
"How dare you lay your hands on me? I'd rather break it than give it back to you,"
James said as he rubbed his sore wrist. Dustin clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles popped. His eyes were red with anger.
"You son of a bitch!"
Unable to hold in his anger anymore, Dustin slapped James in the face. James was slapped so hard that he spun back uncontrollably before falling to the ground. He was so dizzy that he couldn't stand up. Since your mother can't be bothered to teach you manners, let me do the honors. Dustin grabbed him by the hair and lifted him. Then he slapped him several times. James's face soon turned bloody from the slaps.
How dare you hit my son!
Florence screamed as she tried to help her son.
Fuck off!
Dustin turned and glared at her. The glare was so intense that Florence froze in her track.
Fuck off!
Those 2 words were enough to scare Florence motionless. She had never thought that Dustin could be so scary when he was angry. He had always been so mild-tempered around them. He now looked like he could eat her alive. When she finally got her wits back, Florence began screaming,
Help! Help! He's murdering my son!
Soon, the Quine Group security guards gathered around them.
What happened, Mrs. Nicholson?
The head of the security guards recognized Florence and stood at her side immediately.
Tom, lock this guy up at once. I want him punished for beating up my son,
Florence yelled.
Holy cow! How dare you cause trouble in front of the Quine Group? Have you lost your mind?
Tom waved his hand. All the security guards surrounded Dustin. This was their chance to kiss up to the president's mother. If they did well now, then they might get a promotion and a raise.
What are you waiting for? Beat him up!
Just as they were about to act, a voice sounded.
What do you think you're doing?
A curvaceous woman in a silver dress barged into the crowd with her bodyguards. With her lips painted a fiery red, she was stunningly beautiful. Every move she made was alluring.
She's gorgeous.
The security guards stared at her lustily. She was one of the most attractive women they had ever seen.
Mr. Rhys, are you okay?
The woman ignored the looks she was getting and headed straight toward Dustin. Who are you? Dustin narrowed his eyes at her, his anger dissipating.
Nice to meet you. My name is Natasha Harmon. Mr. Anderson sent me here,
the woman said with a smile. At this, the security guards began whispering amongst themselves.
Natasha Harmon? Is she the heiress of the Harmon family?
Oh my God, why is she here?
They were all shocked. Natasha Harmon was a household name around the city. She was pretty, influential, and smart. At 22 years old, she had already gained control of the Harmon Group and built her own business empire within 5 years. Ah, it's you. Dustin nodded. He had heard of Natasha before, but he hadn't expected her to be involved with Hunter.
Mrs. Rhys, please wait in the car. I'll deal with this.
Natasha snapped her fingers. Behind her, her 4 bodyguards whipped out their batons and advanced toward the crowd. Even though there were just 4 of them, their threatening auras was enough to make the security guards back off. After all, they knew that the Harmon family only hired trained bodyguards. After you, Mrs. Rhys. Seeing that no one else dared to move, Natasha smiled and held out a hand to lead Dustin to the car. Without a word, Dustin picked up the pieces of his necklace and left with Natasha. No one dared to stop him.
What the heck? What do we pay you for? Why didn't you just let them go?
Florence yelled when she realized what was happening.
Mrs. Nicholson, she's Natasha Harmon. We don't dare to offend her.
The head of the security lamented. None of them dared to lay a finger on Natasha.
Useless trash! You don't dare to offend her, but you're fine offending my daughter!
Florence demanded. The security guards looked at each other, not daring to speak.
What happened?
Dahlia and Lyra came out to see what the commotion was.
Dahlia, you're here! Look at how badly your brother's been beaten up!
As soon as Florence saw her, she began to cry, as if she was the one who had been beaten up.
What happened? Who did this?
Seeing her brother's wounds, Dahlia's expression became chilly.
Who else? It's that bastard Dustin!
Florence cried.
We met him just now. James picked up a crystal necklace that he dropped and tried to give it back to him, but he tried to turn it around and said that your brother stole it from him. After some argument, he beat up James. My poor James. He just did what he thought was right. What has he done to deserve this?
She began crying harder.
Dustin?
Dahlia frowned.
He's always been mild-tempered. Why would he beat up James for no reason? What did you do?
What do you mean by this?
Florence looked angered.
Do you not believe your mother?
I just want to know the truth,
Dahlia said. After 3 years of marriage, she knew Dustin's personality well. He was normally calm and collected and rarely lost his temper. He wouldn't just beat someone up for no reason.
Look at your brother. Is the truth not clear enough? If you don't believe me, ask the security guards. They saw everything.
Saying this, Florence gave the security guards a look.
Miss Nicholson, your mother is right. That guy there was the one who assaulted your brother. If it weren't for us, she would have fallen victim to him too.
The head of security understood his assignment perfectly.
You hear that? I'm not wronging that bastard.
Florence continued.
I've told you before, that Rhys guy is not a good person. He's a hypocrite. Look at what he's done right after you divorced him. He even has a new whore now.
Hearing this, Dahlia frowned. She was unsure of what to think. Could Dustin really do such a thing? Maybe he was furious about the divorce and wanted to exact revenge on her through her brother. If so, then she had to admit that she had misjudged him.